Welcome back to the Crochet Crowd. So it's my friends at yarnspirations.com. Today we're going to explore double point needles, just like so. So both sides have the points on there, and these are for projects where the size of what we're trying to do has to be done in a circle, but then also the wire, if you did circular knitting, would not be able to match it. So for example, you could do circular knitting on something with this, but then as soon as the hat gets smaller and smaller near the tip, you're gonna have to switch to your double points. My goal today is to show you how I figured out how to cast on and then how to jump from one to one. It took me about 7 hours to understand this, which is sickening. But I am a beginner knitter, and hopefully you find value today. So I'm going to give you my hack immediately, and then you can go from there. Welcome to my channel. This is the Crochet Crowd, and I'm your host Mikey, and you're here with me on my journey of the yarn arts. If you like what you see, press the like button. You know what? I do like comments, so it helps me to know what to film next. So you can leave a comment, and best yet, you can subscribe to continue to follow along. We'll see you, and we'll get right to the video now. So in the double point needles, what you have is that they're usually sold in groups of 5. So in this configuration, we have 4 being used at the same time, and then the 5th one is the one that you're going to be knitting with. And as you knit with one to take off, it's going on to this one. So eventually, if you start knitting this one, it'll replace it, and then this will become empty, and then you use that one to knit. So that's why it's like that. Some designers or patterns, you can get away with just using 3 instead of 4 in a configuration that creates a triangle shape, and then the 4th one that would be used to do the knitting. So that's why they're groups of 5. So we have 2 choices to be able to cast on. You can cast on directly in this configuration, or what I have figured out for myself is that I cast on using circular knitting needles with all the stitches that I need. And then what I do is that I take that count and then I equally divide it as much as I can, and then I just slide it onto the needles, which I'll demonstrate in a bit. So let's begin to show you how to cast on with these double knits, and let's begin. One of my hangups that I've been having is that the pattern that I just showed you said used only 3 and not 4. The problem is that these knitting ones that I had are pretty short. And so just a few extra stitches, I found they were just sliding off. And so you will notice different brands are different lengths when it comes to stuff like that. So you should be aware that they're not all equal. So these are more higher end that you see that is in the burgundy and this one. So you can see that they're more this length, but the mainstream retailers may be a little bit longer. So you have to determine like literally what you want to do. So in my case, because I knew it was sliding off, I put it to 4 needles around instead of 3, what it suggested, but then I just got to make sure that I'm just keeping track, right? Nope. So let's begin an example of doing 40 stitches, and we're going to use 4 needles in this particular format, and we have the 5th needle to be able to knit with. So let's just keep 2 needles with us, and we're going to start. And I'm going to create a slip knot and just use 1 needle to start. And I'm going to cast on in the format of twist and transfer. So if you wish something else, then you can do something else. It's up to you. And you're just going to put on a total of 10. So I'm going to say 40 stitches total, so 10 per side. So watch what I'm going to do. So I'm just going to twist and transfer on like that. And I want to get a total of 10 first. So get 10 and just meet me back here in just a moment. Just put me on pause. So I now have 10 on here. I want to do one more, number 11, and I'm going to explain. So I have found that if I try and just say put 10 on this one and then start another fresh needle and start fresh on that needle, it's really hard to keep the turn and also to stay organized. So I'm putting my 11th one on here. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. This needle that is in my hands, I want to now just grab onto this and slide it over to this needle. And I want to tighten it down, so just kind of just pull on it. And I want to take this yarn, see how much more needle you have? I want you to push it to the center, and therefore it won't slide off on either side. We're now going to grab another spare needle, and it's already on this one, so we can continue to do the twist and transfer. But the problem is that we are here, so we want to continue to slide this so that we can knit with it in order to continue the twist and transfer. So just let this rest in behind. and then just continue to add more. So I want you to add another 10 to this, so that will give you the number 11 total, and we're going to do the exact same thing to the next needle in just a moment. So on this needle I now have 11, so because I'm trying to get 10 per side, I want to take this one off, the last one I just put on, and just put onto this needle, and then pull tight. Okay, so just pull on it just to tighten it up a little bit, and then take this needle and shift it halfway down. Again, so it doesn't slide off. We're going to rotate, and we're going to move this one here. It's better if these needles are in behind, so just kind of rotate it so that you have access like this. And you're going to slide all the way down and then grab another needle. And then you're going to cast on another 11, or sorry, another 10 to give you a total count of 11 once again on this needle. And do that, and I'll see you at the next changeover. So I now have 11 on this one here. So I'm going to do my last needle, and so I want to take the 11th one and move it on over, tighten it up. The more needles you add, the more fussier it gets in the beginning, but once you get more project done, the needles will stabilize on themselves. Don't forget to move this one halfway down to prevent the slide off from either side, and then continue with your final needle. You'll move this one all the way down and put on your last 9. So you do only want 10 on the last one here, and continue to cast on. And so do that so that you have 10, and meet me back here in just a moment. So I have my last 10, and I just wanted to leave it how I was having it here. So you can see the different layers have just naturally happened based on where the needles landed. Before you do anything further, I want you just move it halfway and let's chalk. So we're going to position this out, and when you put it out, the here should be all facing each other. So if there's facing the wrong direction like this, that you would see here, you know it was twisted. So make sure this is all facing in the same direction. To start then your first round of this, you can tell that it's not closed, but it will close off in the first stitch. So in order to do that, we have to turn the whole thing upside down. So because I'm right-handed, and this is a right-handed tutorial, is that the yarn must come in from the right-hand side in traditional English knitting that I'm showing you. So we have a few things that we have to consider. We have the 5th needle that we need, and then we have the first one here, but we know that we knit at the tip. So what we have to do is that we have to move this now to the tip, not all the way of course, but just up high enough, and we're going to use this needle then to start doing your knitting in the round. To do this, you're going to do a knit stitch, so you're just going to put it in, and as you're knitting, you're transferring the stitches from here to here, and eventually this one becomes empty and becomes your new one that you're going to be operating with. Leave the needles in behind and just grab this yarn here, and you're going to knit with that. The secret is to pull tight, but you can pull tight after you have the first stitch through. Okay, and use your finger or whatever and just kind of snug on it to pull it tighter, and then you can slide off. And it's the second stitch that is the secret, I think, from what people are telling me. So you're going to knit the second stitch, and it's the second stitch after you do a transfer of a jump is that you're going to give it the final tug. You can't tug it any more tighter after the second. So just see, I'm just using my finger. So I'm going to knit then to the remaining of this needle that I'm working with. So as I'm knitting here, this one's running out, and this one is taking its place. You can do your knits, you can do your purls. I've been given advice by a friend that you should consider that when you do a jump from one needle to the other, when you're going around, that it's at least a knit stitch. So if you have a choice and it's a knit purl configuration, you can make sure that the last stitch that we're going to play with before the jump is a purl, so that the first stitch is a knit stitch. You don't have to have the equal number of mounts on these stitches in order to make this work, or on the needles in order to make this work. So things will get kind of balled up for a bit. I have been working through this concept, as I said, for a while, like a matter of hours. And I've noticed that the more I get onto my knitting needles, the easier this gets, because see how flexible everything is right now? Annoying as hell. So that will strengthen up as the more project that you get done. So as I've been yapping at you, I've been working my way across, and eventually this needle has run out. Once this needle's done, pull out. You'll use that as your working needle, and then you're going to do this needle and you're going to push halfway up and let it rest. And now we're going to use this needle here. So in order to do this, push this needle in behind so it's out of your way, and then push up these stitches so it's closer to the tip, and get this the needle you were just working with and begin. You're jumping again, so just come around the needle that you're working with and do your knit stitch and slide, and use your finger tug on it, and it's the second one that you'll knit, regardless if it's a knit or a purl, that you do want to do that tug after you get it done. So tug, tug, tug. And what happens because you're jumping the needles is that you will see a gap if you don't pull tight. I have found it was really awkward in the first few rounds of this, but once you get beyond that and once you get used to this concept, it gets easier. But if you're feeling frustrated in any way, you're not alone. I'm learning to knit, and for me, learning was really quite tough. So I will see you at the next jump in just a moment. So I'm just coming up to the end, and what I am doing behind the scenes is that I'm keeping an eye to make sure that none of these will are sliding anywhere off, especially if you have too many loops on there. It can get close to an edge and it can just naturally do that. So you're going to pull this out, you're going to push up halfway, and then you're going to prepare with that new one, and you're going to go into the next one after it. So put this one right here in behind. Okay, just get things out of your way, and then jump on over. So just come on around the back. It's a little awkward, so if you're saying, well, it's awkward, it is awkward. So you do the first one, and then as I'm moving stuff up now, so just move it up to the tip, and then just give it a good tug. Okay, tug, but it's the second one, as I mentioned before, is the one that you really need to give that second tug to make sure that everything is where it needs to be. And that's what you would do. So you can go around and around in this formation. The trick is to make sure that you are just magically just going around and around. And I have found that as this thing is getting bigger, it's a lot easier to manage. So let me show you that other sample next. So here's the other sample. You can see how a lot more stable it is because there's more product on it. So the actual yarn itself is keeping it a lot easier. So because there's more here, I just have to make sure I keep an eye to make sure that these don't get too close to any edge to be able to slide off. They don't naturally slide out if I just tip it, but you know, as you're working things can move. So that's something to keep in mind. So let me show you another way to do what we just did, but not cast on through the 4 needles or the 3 needles at the same time. So the next option is to get your circulars of the same size. So I've been using 6.5, so I'm going to use a 6.5 for circulars, just like this. You can also use a straight needle as long as you can get all the loops onto what you need to hold just temporarily. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to cast the entire amount that I want. So I'm going to do 40, and then from there I'm going to transfer them to the 4 needles. Then I don't have to worry about doing it in this format. So when I did this, I did it this way instead. So let's put these needles aside. We'll use them in a bit, but we're going to just cast on, starting with your slip knot. I am going to do a twist and transfer. If you prefer something else, you can do that. And I'm going to put it on. So let me get my needle in, and it's the same thing that we did for the cast on process of just the twist and transfer. So just a knit and then twist and transfer. So I want you to do this for 40 if you want to do the sample that I'm showing you, and then I'll be right back in a moment. So put all 40 on this piece here. So now I have my 40 on here, so I'm just going to move the other needle out of the way. So instead of casting on to what I did here, what I can do now is move the stitches just by going straight on in and transferring them over as is. And so what I would want to do, because I have the number 40 in mind, is that I'm going to do 10 loops per needle. So let me put the first 10 on, and I'll be right back. So I now have my first 10. So now I just grab the next one and just the same thing, put on 10. So I will do that with all of them, and then I will have that configuration ready to go, and I'll show you what to do next. So make sure that there's 10 stitches per needle, and there should be 4 needles. Don't forget to make sure that you move it halfway through the needle once you have it on, and so it won't slide off either way. So continue to keep on loading. While I'm here, what if we dropped the loop by accident? Just say that you pulled it off and it came off. Let me just intentionally drop one. The orientation to put this back on is that this strand in behind here needs to be behind this needle. This one has to be the one that's coming up over the top. So we have to make sure that when you go in, it looks immediately like you're gonna go from here, but in actual fact, you need to grab it from here in order to have that to happen. So this piece here has to stay in behind. So you just have to manipulate it back, okay? And just put it like this, okay? To keep the orientation the same. And I can tell the orientation is the same because of the way that it looks underneath here. So if that happens to you, don't sweat it. Just calm down, breathe, and just continue to go. So I'm putting on my last one so you can remove this needle out, and there you go. So it kind of looks like a gobbledygook. So now you're gonna have to organize this. And so the best way that I would tell you to organize it, this yarn here has to go, I'm right-handed, so it has to go this way. So I would get that ready and into there. See this? Have it go towards the other pieces. Okay, so just keep on twisting around so that it kind of makes sense. Technically, I could have all this organized before I start filming, but what happens with that is that, you need to know what it looks like from a real point of view. So now they're all here. So the whole interior is on the inside. And so this would be like you were doing the cast on process, and I'm going to demonstrate that next, of going and joining it so that we can have our continuous square. So let's pick up this extra one here, and it's 4 here, it could be a total 3. It doesn't really matter, it's the same concept. And we're going to get this yarn into our hand and the spare needle. Put the tail to the inside of the center, so it's out of your way. So let's get this here as a knit stitch. So let's go in and just use your hands just to hold. Get this here and just wrap around the back needle. Okay, and what I want to do is just knit stitch that first. Don't worry about the tightness yet, and just get it on there and pull it to this one here. So what we're doing in this whole process is that we're transferring this one to this needle. This needle will eventually become empty, which will become the new needle for this. You'll see that happening. So let's just slide off. And once it's slid off, I want you to tug on that yarn. So no matter how you hold your yarn, just like tug on it to get it tighter to the beginning. The secret is the second stitch in on this needle. So you're going to knit stitch the next one. So just keep pulling things tight, but it's the second stitch that you're going to knit stitch, or it could be purl, and no matter what. And when you slide that off, that's your final time to give it a good tug to make sure that it's secure. If you don't tug, you're gonna see a gap in between each one of the needles, and you'll see that in your project. So now you're just going to continue to knit or purl or whatever has been assigned to you. And so you're just gonna slide off. Keep an eye to make sure that nothing else is gonna slide off the tips of anything. So keep things centered on the rest of the needles that are not in play. Okay, and I would keep the working needles that you're using in front. It gets a lot easier to hold once there is more project onto these needles. So I have found in the very beginning of this, it's very, very finicky. It's almost a game changer in the sense of quitting. But I found that once you get a few more rounds on this thing, they become a lot more stable. Well, at least more stable than I am. And I'm going to continue to knit right until the end of this one that's going to run out. So we want to make sure that when we jump the needles, when we're ready to do it, we're prepared to do that in a way that makes sense so that these stitches just do not slide off on their own when they're not in use. So I'm going right to the end. I know it looks like an organized or like a chaotic mess on screen, but I'm just going right to the end. And this is the last one. So this one here is knit, this needle is out, this is the new working needle. And before you go any further, I want you to push what you just did halfway down and let rest. and just look at your work and make sure that nothing is going to be in a weird format. Okay, so just kind of keep things organized. So this becomes the new working one. So put it in front like this, so you have access to it. Push it down near the tip. Get your working one here and begin to knit stitch. The first one is awkward, so you're going to come around the back, okay, and you're going to go around the working one, and you're going to pull the first one through as your knit stitch, or it could be a purl depending on your application. When you slide off, I'm using my finger to give it a tug, and then I'm doing the next one because the second one is the secret tug, right? The second one is the one that will secure it and lock it. So it's your last opportunity to secure it before moving on. So just do, and then continue to knit. So go all the way around in this formation, and I'll meet you at the end of the round in just a moment. So I've just come all the way around, and the first one's going to be a little bit looser. And so then it's your opportunity to really tighten that one. So I can tell I've gone all the way around because here's where we started. Okay, so when you go to jump the next one, you're just going to push these up. And so this is the second opportunity to get that edging to look even better. So you just go around. You got to make sure you stay to the back. Give it a good tug and do the next one. And of course, the second one is the extra tug. So then that helps that go around. And so you can just follow the instructions that's been assigned to you, and now you've established your double points going in a circle, just like this. So you may have different ways. By all means, go for it. I'm a beginner knitter, so I don't know everything. So if you have any more tips, you can leave those in the comments. And this is my interpretation for the double point needles, without all the cuss words and all the frustration that I had trying to learn this. But I think everybody's capable. You just gotta be patient with yourself more than anything. Have a good day. We hope to see you again real soon. Bye-bye.